In this video, we're going to look at the start of the algebraic fractions section, and we're going to look at how to simplify algebraic fractions. Okay, so in a minute we'll talk about how to do ones like this. Okay, but before I do that, I just want to talk about fractions in general. So, for example, if you had just a regular numerical fraction, something like 2/4, that simplifies to a half. Okay, and if you had something like 18/24, we know, well, both of these numbers here are divisible by 6. Okay, so if you divide, let me choose a different color pen. If you divide the top one by 6, you get 3. And if you divide the bottom one by 6, you get 4. So the answer is 3/4. Okay, so this is the both. Now remember, these are both equivalent fractions. They are actually the same fraction, but this is the simplified version and this is not. Okay, we're going to do something like that with this. But what I want you to bear in mind is why does 18/24 become 3/4? Why is that the case? Well, here's one way to think about it. It's going to help us do this question here. Okay, 18 is actually, well, it's equal to 6 times 3. Okay, and 24 is equal to 6 times 4. And if you think about it, well, these two both cross each other out, and that's equal to 3/4. Okay. Now the trouble is, what I see is when you have a fraction like this, students think, well, okay, look, I've got an x squared on the top and an x squared on the bottom. I'll just cross those two off, and I've got an x there and an x there, and I'll cross those two off, and then I might simplify that into 1/3 there, and then I'll just work that out, and then there's the answer. Okay, that's not the case with this. Okay. Because here's the scenario. For example, if I said to you 3 add 5 divided by 3 add 7, okay? Well, 3 add 5 is 8, and 3 add 7 is 10. Okay, and that simplifies to 4/5, okay? But if you cross the 3's off here, you're left with 5/7. But that is not equivalent to 4/5. So you can't cross these 3's off because of this this add sign is in the way. Okay, because technically speaking, you have to add these first and add these second, and then see what numbers you get and then simplify that. Okay, so you're not, when you see pluses and takeaways on the top or the bottom of the fraction, you're not allowed to simply cross these two off. Okay, the only time you're allowed to cross things off from the top and the bottom is if it's multiplication in the middle. So for example here, 8 is 2 times 4 and 10 is 2 times 5, and then these 2's can cancel each other out and you're left with 4/5. Okay, that's allowed because there's a times sign between them two. Okay, if it was a plus sign, to add 4 to add 5, then you can't just cross the 2's off, because technically speaking this fraction is now 6/7. It's not equivalent to 4/5. Okay, it's not equivalent to that. Okay, so bear that in mind. Don't go crossing things off if there's pluses and takeaways on the top and bottom of fractions. Okay, you can't do that. You can only cross off things which are multiplications. So the question is, how on earth do we actually then go about simplifying these two here? Because it is not a multiplication of two things or three things. There's these pluses and takeaways in the middle. Okay, well, the trick is factorization. Okay, what we need to do is factorize the top of the fraction into double brackets, and then the bottom into double brackets. Okay, and they always design these questions so that you can cancel something out. So in this case, if we factorize the top and factorize the bottom, then one of these brackets will be the same as another one, and then you're allowed to cross them out. Because if you think about it, what does it mean when you have brackets next to each other? Well, brackets next to each other means multiplication. So actually these two brackets are multiplying each other, and these two brackets are multiplying each other. Just like when we had 2 times 4, 2 times 5, you could cross the 2's off. It's the same principle. If you have something next to something in maths, it means they're multiplying each other. So if that, for example, if this bracket is the same as this bracket, I can cross these two off. Okay, so that's the principle behind it. So we need to factorize this. Okay, so this is where all our work on factorizing quadratics and solving quadratic equations is essential. Okay, so we need to remember how to do that. Right, so let's look at factorizing the top. Okay, now one option is you just guess. So what I do is I might guess, and I'll tell you what, because remember this side everything is marked. Okay, so you don't want to write anything on there if you're going to guess, because it's not part of the mark scheme. So let's kind of just do some working out here. Okay, so let's have a go. Well, all right, let's see. So the start is 6x squared and the end is minus 2. So it's probably going to be 3x, and that's probably going to be a 2x. Okay, and we need to somehow make sure we get a 1 in the 1x in the middle. Okay, and the end number is a negative. That means one of these has got to be positive and one of these has got to be negative. Now, I think this is going to be plus 1 and maybe minus 2 here. Okay, would that work? Because you get a minus. Okay, so let's just check that. So if I multiply it out, I'll get 6x squared, okay, as predicted, and then I'll get a positive 3x, and then I'd get a minus 4x, and then a takeaway 2. Okay, so I knew I'd get the front and the end with these two things here, but in the middle I've got a negative 1x, which I don't want. I want a positive 1x. So I think what it is probably that I've got the signs the wrong way around. So that must be a minus, and this must be a no. Sorry, that must be a plus, and this is a minus. Okay, and if we check, oh god, just deleted that. What was it again? 3x plus 2, 2x take away 1. So if we multiply that out, we get 6x squared. I really don't care about the front. I knew it was going to be that, and I don't care about the end. It's minus 2 anyway. So I'd get a 6x. Oh, sorry, no. What am I doing? I'm getting this completely wrong. I'd get a 6x squared, and what am I doing? Oh, heaven's sake, let's get this right. Okay, this is the third and fourth time I've done it wrong. Okay, 6x squared, and then I'll get a what am I doing? A minus 3x. No, I've done it right. Minus 3x plus 4x take away 2. Yeah. So when you expand that out, in the middle you get minus 3x plus 4x, which is my 1x. Okay, so I know that's the top. So let's write that in. 3x plus 2 and 2x take away 1. So that's definitely the top. Okay, let me write that a bit clearer. Minus 1. Okay, so this is the top. Okay, actually let's just check that. Okay, so no errors detected. I know that's right. Okay, now on the bottom we need to do the same thing. Okay, now I suspect, because what they do is they always design this question out. Whatever the double brackets are, one of them appears on the bottom. Okay, so I suspect, because that's a 15x squared, I reckon it's to do with this one, because that 3x goes into that 15x squared quite nicely. So I reckon that bracket, one of the brackets for the bottom is 3x plus 2. Okay, now just by using kind of logic, if it's 3x, we need a 5x to make 15x. And if that's a positive 2, whatever goes there needs to multiply to positive 6. So that's got to be positive 3. So I think this is the bottom. Okay, that's a terrible straight line. Let me do that again. I really should use a ruler. So actually, I forgot to double check this. If I multiply it out, do I get what the bottom is? So 15x squared plus 9x plus multiply those two, 10x plus 6. Okay, and there's your 19x when you add them. Right, so let me write that here. 3x plus 2 and 5x plus 3. Okay, now the idea behind it is this. Okay, if you have a look, actually convert that. Right, so if you have a look, what we got here? Well, we've got two brackets multiplying each other on the top and two brackets multiplying each other on the bottom. And the idea is that when you have multiplications, then you can cancel things out, because these two brackets are actually multiplying each other and these two brackets are multiplying each other. All the pluses and minuses are kind of trapped inside the brackets. They're not like on the kind of escaped on the outside here. They're in these brackets. So actually we can cross this bracket out and cross this one off, and this is our answer. So if we check that, okay, there it is, 2x minus 1 and 5x plus 3. Now, You can leave it in this form with the brackets or without the brackets, but because it's just one thing on the top, one thing on the bottom, you could have also left it as 2x take away 1, 5x plus 3 without the brackets, and then they are. So the idea is, if we look at the new question, the idea is you've got to get the top into double brackets and the bottom into double brackets, and then one of them will cancel out, okay? So this one here, it's probably, let's just kind of take a guess on this one. Oh, there's a timer. I hate it when this happens. So it's probably, oh, okay, you want to go away now. All right, thank you. So it's probably going to be 3x, 3x. And I tell you what, you want a 2, don't you? So it's probably plus 1, plus 2. And let's just double check. 9x squared plus 6x plus 3x. Oh no, sorry, it's minus in the middle, isn't it? So it's going to be minus and a minus to make a plus at the end and a negative in the middle. Right, so let's do that again. Okay, I'll tell you what, the computer's definitely not going to like that. So it's that. So 9x squared, take away 6x, take away 3x, add 2, and so in the middle I would have had a take away 6x, take away 3x, which gives me my minus 9x. Okay, now I suspect on the bottom we've got a 3x, sorry, we've got a 12x squared, so one of them is definitely going to be 3x. So the other one will have to be 4x. We need positive 3 at the end. So minus 2 doesn't go in, so it's got to be minus 1, because it's got to match one of these brackets. And this has got to be negative 3. Okay, now if you expand that double bracket, it's always a good idea to double check. You got your 12x squared, then you multiply those two, so it's minus 9x, minus 4x, plus 3, and then in the middle you get your minus 13x, so it's definitely that. Right, so if we cross that off, go, go, go. It doesn't really like this, does it? I need to have a word in my script to sort that out. And then those two cancel out, so this is it. Okay, convert that, and there we go, that's it. Okay. Now, by the way, you can do all the working out on the right hand side, so you can even use that method that I kind of did in my first video where you multiply the first with the last. Actually, let me just demonstrate that. So first times the last is 15. So remember, you're looking for two numbers that multiply to 15 and add to 8, so they're 5 and 3. So you can write 5x squared plus 5x plus 3x plus 3, and then on the bottom, actually the bottom's quite straightforward, isn't it? It's a monic, so what are the two double brackets? X plus 1, x plus 1. Okay, and then so on the top you can factorize from the left hand side, you can factorize a 5x out, and then it'd be x plus 1 plus, and then you can factor a 3 out, so it'd be x plus 1, and on the bottom you have your x plus 1. Okay, let's get rid of all of that, don't need that. Go away, go away. So on the top, the x plus 1's the repeat, so that's one of them, and the other one's 5x plus 3. And then you've got those two double brackets on the bottom. I'll tell you what, let's just kind of cut to the chase. One of them is x plus 1, it cancels that one out, so let's get rid of all of that. And so you're going to be left with just one of the x plus 1's on the bottom. Convert that. And I'll tell you, let's write it without the brackets. 5x plus 3 over x plus 1. Let's get rid of all that. Okay, so that's an acceptable version of the answer. Okay, so remember what I keep saying is you don't need to do loads of questions. 4 or 5 correct in a row. Once you've mastered it, move on to the next task. Okay, and at the end, once you've done all of the skills questions, only then should you tackle the exam questions. And I've put some really, really tough ones on there, so you really got to know your stuff before you do it. Okay, thank you for watching.